Good to see everybody again today. Busy day, exciting day, certainly with a lot going on around here, but it's been a fun day. Excited to welcome this certainly the start of this 2021 signing class. Welcome them here to Sooner Nation, to the University of Oklahoma here today. It's been a long time coming and been certainly a different journey with these players, with their families throughout this. And I think it says a lot about the quality of people that we're bringing in here, the quality of families that are going to also be a part of our new family now, that they would be able to navigate through all the challenges that's been presented in recruiting. And it's really been unlike any other. And to be able to sign this class and these guys this day, I mean, these days are always great. You're always excited about signing day and the hard work that's went into it and what the future could be. But this one certainly feels different, and in a way, maybe even a little bit more special for these guys and these families because of what they went through. Not being able to visit, not being able to take official visits, missing so much of what this process normally is like. And so I'm very, very proud of the people that we signed, the people that are coming into our program. And I think there's a lot of great days ahead for the Oklahoma Sooners. So, it's been, like I said, very busy. Just got off the practice field, had a great practice. It's fun to be signing guys and also be busy getting ready for a championship game as well. So that's become the norm for this week, for the last couple of years, and we plan on doing our part to keep it that way. So I also want to really give a big shout out to our entire staff. Again, had to adapt and do some things that have never been done before to continue to make this process as real as we could for these players, these student athletes, these families, and really, it really took everyone in this building. Everybody just had to come together. Everybody had to take on new roles. Everybody had to think outside the box. And I think our people really worked hard throughout the pandemic, throughout the quarantine, here throughout the season to be able to do what we did today, and then what we hope to continue to be able to do in the future as we continue to build this class. But I can't say enough about the job, again, of our recruiting team. Of course, Annie Hansen and Drew Hill heading that up, and obviously Chip Viney being a big part of that, Caroline McMurray being a big part of that. And then really want to give a big shout out to Zach Heffley, John Baker, our entire media and graphics crew, because this has now been multiple years in a row that we've unveiled some really, really special things and done some things to make this day as memorable as possible for our signees. I know it's something that our fans, Sooner Nation, everyone really enjoys. And we've got a couple other surprises coming out here throughout the rest of the day. So just outstanding work by everybody. Can't wait to get these guys here. Got a little business to take care of first, but just a really, really exciting day. So with that, we'll get to questions.
Okay, thanks, Coach. We'll start with Bob Prisbilla with Sooner Scoop and then go to Brandon Drum.
Lincoln, want to go back about 4 months ago, Sooner Summit. What's going through your head when Caleb Williams is explaining what he's looking to do, and how big was he toward just in terms of building the entire class?
It was something that, we couldn't be a part of. And that was, made pretty clear to us. Our compliance department did a great job of kind of advising us on that. And, there was so much about, this pandemic, and then in turn, the dead period, so much about this just changed the entire process. I mean, I think everybody sees, okay, yeah, they can't come on visits, but it changed so much. And you had this like constant push pull of, you have these players and families that are wanting to see not only Oklahoma, but places all over the country. And, you're sitting there as a parent trying to envision, how am I going to send my child somewhere with maybe some people that I've never met, a place that I've never seen. And so it was a constant push pull of that. And then the hard thing for us is if a player does choose to come on their campus, on our campus on their own, we can have nothing to do with them. We can't even be on a phone call with them while they are on our campus. I mean, that's how strict the rules are. And so, but I think the class came together. I think there was certainly and not certainly talking specifically about that. I just think throughout this entire process, this group really stuck together. And I think they started to form bonds despite not being able to come on official visits together and go through the norm. And I think you can already kind of feel that group is kind of like, man, we've been through something together already. It's like they've already experienced some adversity together and found their way through it, which, normally bonds people together. And I think this group's a great example of that.
And then when it came to the social media presentation, done the trading cards, albums. What inspired this year's, and did you have fun acting?
Well, we better hope we can keep our full-time job as coaches. I know that, except Coach Beadenbow. He was the star of the show. Yeah, it was fun. I think that the inspiration, we certainly lean on Zach Heffley and then some of our other creative crew and then certainly get ideas from all over. But I think the inspiration behind it was, I think, two things. One, it was somewhat in the mold of what we did on our virtual visits, not to give everything away, but I think our signees, certainly are going to be able to pick up on a lot of that. And that kind of became the world that we lived. And then I think some of it was also an attempt to have a little bit of fun and some comedic relief with all that we've all been going through, pandemic and, everybody becoming Zoom experts and, just all the kind of different things that we've all gone through. We thought it was important to be able to smile and laugh a little bit. So hopefully we hit the mark. I think our guys did and did a great job.
Okay, we'll go to Brandon Drum with OU Insider and then John Hoover.
Yeah, Lincoln, can you talk about Clayton Smith and just your overall thoughts on him? He's had a really big senior year. You guys signed him. He's moved up way in the rankings. I know y'all don't worry about all that stuff, but he's a guy that's just had a dynamic senior year, somebody that you guys look like you pinpointed really early on.
Yeah, we did. We thrilled about Clayton. I mean, that's something you always watch when you get a kid, maybe that you like his potential and what he does early on in his career. And then, I think it's two things with Clayton. One, you get to know him and you get to see the kind of person he is and how passionate and serious he is about, being successful. And that he's a really, really neat kid. I mean, it's a great family. They were just a joy to get to know. And then, even just as excited as we were when, he committed and as we got to know him, then obviously seeing what he's done here in his senior year. I mean, he's one of those guys that is just he went from being a very good player to an elite player at that level. I mean, quickly he made a huge jump, which is what you want to see because you see that hunger and. Well, I'm not just satisfied just because I've already got a scholarship to a place like Oklahoma. Like I'm continuing to climb, and you felt that with him. And I think you've seen that as he's played well, and his team has obviously had a fabulous year and got hopefully some more games left for him.
In guys that you go after, the Colin Montgomerys that play, he's a big guy, but he plays basketball and he's really good at it. And the other guys that play multiple sports, you seem to always pinpoint those guys, but guys that can play both sides of the ball, like a Clayton, like a Mario, like all these guys and Billy Bowman, is that something that is important to you guys as a staff?
It is. I think, two things. One, it shows the willingness to compete. I think that's a big part of it. Two, I think it shows the trust that their high school coaches have in them, that if most people, if they're that good of a player, then, coaches are going to find any and every way possible to use those guys. And then I think three, it shows, their football IQ. What are they able to process? What are they able to understand? And for so many of those guys, regardless where they end up playing in college, those experiences help them become better players. And as a coach, knowing that you have those versatile skill sets, and it may not always be offense, defense. It may be, a great defensive player that all of a sudden can be a punt returner or be a great blocker on a kickoff return team or whatever it is. I mean, those skills always translate over, and they're, in our opinion, normally indicators of overall really good football players.
We'll go to John Hoover with SI Sooners and then Ryan Aber.
Hey, Lincoln, in addition to the guys who play multiple positions and the guys who play multiple sports, you got a couple of defensive players, NRK and Mukes, who are typically came up as basketball players, show amazing potential upside as football players. Can you describe kind of their upside, those two guys?
Yeah, I would actually say like our evaluation process for them, even though they're obviously different positions, different body types, all that, our evaluation process for those two, for Mukes and NRK, were very similar in that we saw kind of relative to their positions, jaw-dropping length and athleticism. I mean, I remember going to watch Mukes practice basketball, and I was like watching a dunk contest. I mean, I mean, we see guys that can play ball, and we see guys dunk and do all that. It's not, I mean, not a big deal, but I mean, this was a little bit different. And there were just the explosion, the violence, and the thing. To be able to play DB was exciting, and then very excited about the way he performed here senior year. I thought another guy like Clayton that really took some big steps, but the length and athleticism he has are undeniable. And NRK, a lot of the same things. Obviously, a tremendous basketball player. The length on that edge was just, and the athleticism was something that we just couldn't get past. And with both those kids, as we got to know them, their personalities, how driven and excited they were about what they could be on the football field, and you saw just kind of that upward trajectory. So that was two guys with a very similar path that we certainly think could develop into great players here.
And then I have to ask about your quarterback. Was Caleb's recruitment unique in any way?
Yeah, it was. We offered him fairly early. Got a chance to kind of know him. He's got a tremendous high school coach and program there at Gonzaga, and got a chance to know those guys as we recruited Joseph Wette. And offered him early. Ended up having one guy commit first, and so we ended up backing off because I knew we were only going to take one, and I've always been very honest with guys like that. And and then obviously things changed, and we went back after Caleb Hart. Knew no doubt at that point he was the guy that I wanted, and that we wanted. And yeah, it was a great process. So his family was amazing throughout the entire time. Caleb was great, very forthcoming. A neat kid. Just loves football and loves to compete, and obviously has a really, really great skill set. So he certainly became one of the leaders of this class, and his recruitment was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Ryan Aber, the Oklahoman, and then Eric Bailey.
Yeah, I like it sort of following up there on what you just mentioned. What drew you to Caleb Williams, the football player, and just what are some of the things that stand out to you about him on the field?
What drew me the football player, I would say two things. First was the skill set. I mean, the skill set is really, really good. I mean, it's the type of athleticism that you love to have, combined with, a very, very strong arm talent. I mean, fantastic arm talent. And so, he really kind of checked all the boxes from a physical standpoint. What really, probably one of the most telling things, honestly, that drew me to him was, when we had a previous player committed, he and his father were willing to come here and walk on. And not many people would have been willing to do that. And I just think it shows you the confidence that Caleb has in himself. And I've, like I've said about many of our guys before, I just don't believe you can play that position at a high level if you don't really believe in yourself. And I think Caleb the entire time felt like that this program and this offense, this system, all of that could really maximize him as a player, and so he felt very strongly about that, and you can't deny that kind of self-belief, and he backs it up. It's not an arrogance. He works hard at the game. The game's important to him. He trains really, really hard for a guy his age, and so the skill set, the natural confidence, and just the charisma that he has. I mean, you feel like he's got every tool to have a chance to be a really, really good player.
And then those targets that you bring in around him, how does this receiver class compare to maybe the one a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think all yet to be determined. But as excited about this group as I have been about any. Cody Jackson really got it started off, and being able to go get Cody out of down in the Houston area, there at Foster High School, we've been able to get a pretty good receiver or two out of there. Was great. Cody was, really kind of got the deal started, and then obviously being able to get go get Mario Williams out of Florida, and then be able to get Jaleel, there kind of towards the end, and that was a great way to kind of top off the receiver class. And so no, it's a heck of a group. It's I think the group brings a lot of speed to the position. They've all got nice size. I mean, I feel like it's three playmakers. I mean, three guys that I think are going to be, good route runners, all that stuff, but guys that you feel like these guys are all three pretty electric with the ball in their hands, and that was important to us in this class. So that should be a great match between Caleb and those guys.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Eric Bailey, Tulsa World, and then Jason Kersey.
Lincoln, how many of these players are expected to be early enrollees? And what do you think it'll be like trying to introduce these players to the program, to the school when we don't know where this pandemic is going to be in the next couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll be here, as far as in person. I mean, who knows? And so we expect to have, I don't know that I want to put a number out there right now just because that can fluctuate, but we expect to have our normal number of mid-year enrollees. I mean, we've been double digits here for the last several years, and I don't think we'll be far off that, if not right on the mark. And so I don't think the pandemic has slowed that, and in some ways we have a couple of guys that are now going to be mid-year enrollees that maybe without the pandemic would not have been. So it's maybe, if anything, maybe sped up a few guys.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Kersey, The Athletic, and then Joe Bettner.
Yeah, Lincoln, I know this is a situation all around the country this year, but you have a few guys, I think, who have never been on campus that signed with you. So I'm wondering, and this may be a little bit of a bigger picture thing, but as a parent yourself, would you feel comfortable sending one of your daughters to a campus that she'd never been on before, that you'd never been on before?
I think it's a great question. I mean, it's one that's rolled through our heads a lot of times, as it has. I know the families of student athletes. In a normal situation, no. But I think understanding, one, the pandemic we're in, and then also, yes, our families weren't able to come here, but some of the things that we were able to do virtually, and I get it that it's virtually, and I get that it's not quite the same as actually stepping foot on it, but a lot of the things that we were able to do virtually close that gap maybe more than maybe most would expect. And honestly, more than I would have expected had somebody told me in March that, hey, you're not going to have another recruit on your campus the rest of the year. Good luck. So I think we were able to make up a lot of ground there. I think, parents and families getting a great understanding of this place, from the facilities to the community to just every part of it. We were really able to, I think, close the gap. And like I said, under normal circumstances, would I want to send my daughters somewhere like that? No. But if I could have seen what these people saw from ours, could I see myself doing it? I could.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Bettner, Norman Transcript, and then James Hale.
Lincoln, I know you already touched on Jordan Mukes, but with Ethan Downs, the two Oklahoma kids you got, could you just speak to what they mean to, landing those guys for this defense?
Yeah, no, Ethan was a big get. He came up to camp here, now I guess about a year and a half ago, and really put on a show. We really loved his tape to begin with, and he came to camp and really just pushed us over the top with the physicality, the kind of effortless athleticism, and then you saw a real natural pass rush ability that was just very apparent, and so, and then you get to know the quality of the kid. I mean, once again, this is a guy that does great in school. This is a guy that's involved in so many different organizations, helping young children, helping people all over the place, different charitable organizations. I mean, he is community service projects. I mean, he's just always got something going on and always something positive. So, I love the vibe of this kid. Another great family, and getting those two guys there from Oklahoma, adding them to Speed D was a big part of this class.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
James Hale, KREF, and then Daniel Dwyer.
Lincoln, we've talked a lot about you adding defensive line talent over the last couple of years, and you said more was coming. Well, in this class, you've signed one of the best defensive line groups in the country. So talk about this group adding on to what you've had over the last couple of years. So you're getting that done.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting group. I mean, it's the thing that we loved about the group is we thought there was so much versatility with these guys. I mean, you start going down the list, and I don't know that we have any guy that's just could only play one defensive line position, and that's, I mean, you look at Coe, who could play, either the 3 technique or the nose. You look at Kelvin Gilliam, who honestly could probably play any of them. I think Ethan Downs, you could see him on edges. You could see him grow to be one of those guys inside. Clayton, you feel like, will stay on the edge. Nate, NRK, is one of those guys that's so big and still so raw that, I mean, there's no telling, what that's going to look like. So it's no, it is. It's a good group. I mean, that's been a premium for us, just to get the guys that we feel like can succeed in our type of system. And that's guys that are athletic. And we're, the days of us signing, a defensive lineman that we feel like can only be just a 2-gap guy and hold up a gap and allow somebody else to make a play. That's not really who we are. I mean, we need defensive linemen that want to get up the field, that want to make plays, that can win in single gap, win in one-on-ones. And I think we've signed several guys that fit the bill.
Lincoln, the evaluation, when you said the other day that you haven't seen some of these guys for a year, that caught my attention. So, Drew Hill's your player personnel guy, Chip Viney, then you have all your coaches that evaluate. This year you had to be on point. Was it harder? I mean, did you spend a lot more time evaluating film?
It was different. I think, everybody had to set their priorities on this. And for us as a staff, as we saw that this pandemic was ongoing, and, especially once we found out and had a pretty good idea we weren't going to be able to get back out and see these kids again, we decided we knew at that point this was going to be a pretty small class. Normally, you may have seen a guy in late fall or when you were out for an evaluation day, or out even right now, seen a couple of guys that you really liked and ended up maybe signing at the end. And there was some temptation to do that for us, but at the end of the day, we want to know the guys that we're signing. We want to have a great feel for who they are as players, people, all of that. And so, we really kind of set out in the beginning of this and said, the pandemic is what it is. We've got a good idea of the targets that we want to go after, and we're not going to go out there and just recklessly add a bunch of targets when we can't go through this process like we feel like that we should. And so, it's, we kind of zeroed in on guys we wanted, and we went after them. And so it was, the evaluation part was different, but being able to have great guys back there like Drew Hill and Chip Viney, guys that we really trust, made a big difference.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Danielle Dwyer, Fox 25, and then Garen Emig.
Yeah, Lincoln, I wanted to ask you, you talked about trying to close the gap as much as possible to make up for the lack of face-to-face interaction. But are there some concerns that go with maybe this class at all, just because of the process about fitting in or chemistry, or things that maybe you would pick up on during a face-to-face interaction versus virtual? Are there any concerns surrounding that when you're looking at this one with the challenges faced?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the question makes a lot of sense. And honestly, it was a concern of mine, kind of from the beginning, not only with this class, that was a concern of mine just with our football team, just how do those interactions happen, and how do you make up for so much of those missed experiences? And I'll tell you, with the class, though, like I said, in a way, they may be closer than even some of the other classes we've signed. It's, again, kind of that whole, we're going through this adversity together, and so we've got to kind of band together and lean on each other. And you had players leaning on players that, maybe you've got guys that have been up here a bunch of times, and you have players leaning on them of like, what's it like? The guys that weren't able to come up here, a family member that wasn't able to come up here. And so I think a lot of those bonds were kind of created through just simply making it through this together. And And again, the class, the parents, they did a great job of uniting. I think they all felt the importance of that and the importance of them coming together. And now they're remarkably close for as little like face-to-face time as they've actually had to have with each other.
We kind of have to be, I guess, when everything's virtual. And then just real quick, you did talk about looking at basketball tape, for some of the guys. Was this a year that, I feel you always look at multi-sport athletes if you can differently, but did you emphasize looking at other sports and tape on these guys maybe more than you have in years past?
Maybe in a way, just because we had less football tape to evaluate on these guys. You didn't have, some of these guys, most of them lost spring football. And had nothing of note there. A handful of these guys lost their senior seasons of football. We weren't able to go out and put eyes on them in the spring. Even the guys that were able to play this fall, we weren't able to go watch them play in person, which we're doing each and every week just about during the season. And so now you kind of had to evaluate what you had. And for some of the guys, the basketball portion was a bigger chunk of what we had than maybe in a normal year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got time for just two more. We'll go to Gary Nemig, Tulsa World, and then Kerry Murdoch.
Lincoln, how much of a headache was in the back of you and your staff's minds not having a real solid fix on the scholarship situation? Now, you're getting some relief next year, I know, but this could still become kind of a car wreck, could it not, down the road?
It definitely could. It's probably going to. So. It was a factor. I mean, I think that kind of combined with the previous answer about, wanting to make sure that we didn't let the quarantine and all that's gone on, the pandemic, we didn't want that to be an excuse for bringing in people here that we didn't properly vet. And so I think all those things combined led us to saying, you know what, we're going to have our targets. We're going to go after these guys. If we don't get them, we're not going to go reaching. We're going to have chances to sign more guys in February. We're going to have chances to, with transfer portal and immediate eligibility and all that comes with all that, we're going to have our opportunity to go through the process the right way with these people and fill the roster in the correct way. The thing we didn't want to do is get out ahead of ourselves, and I don't feel like that we did. So, but yeah, the scholarship situation and what that's going to be like. I mean, you get the exceptions next year, but after that, it's going to get messy, and so you got to be thinking ahead there, and we certainly tried to do that.
Okay, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And last one, Kerry Murdoch with Sooner Scoop.
Hey, Lincoln, I'm curious, with Kyler Murray's success in Twosport, I mean, how much does that kind of resonate with guys, especially guys like Mario Williams that plays baseball too, and how much in working with Skip, like you had to with Kyler, how much does he help out, in situations like as well?
Yeah, no, they've been great. Just going through that whole thing together with Skip and our friends over in the baseball program, going through that with Kyler, having to coordinate, learn from our mistakes the first year, learning how to do it better. That was a great thing. It really brought us together. We had a great understanding. I thought we really worked well together. And no, it is. I mean, I think anybody that's got aspirations, they can look at OU and say, yeah, not only do I see that they'll give me that opportunity, but two, I see that it can be done at a high level. And being done at a high level, obviously that, the majority of obviously the credit and all of it goes to the athlete, and deservedly so. But there's so much thought and organization that has to go into making that possible and having a good setup that we've been able to go through a little bit. And so that's, I think, helped us in a lot of ways. And I think it's, certainly a lot of Twosport athletes, it's caught their eye. Mario was no different. And then I also would want to say too, I know I didn't get a question about it, but just really excited about the defensive back class as well. I mean, I know we talked about Mukes, but getting Latrell McCutcheon obviously was a huge get there right out of Austin, and was one of our top corners on the board from day one. Being able to go out to Virginia and get Damon Harmon was a huge get as well. We thought he was one of the most versatile DBs that we were able to see across the country, and was an immediate day one target for us. And awesome to be able to get those guys. And then certainly, Billy Bowman, being able to add Billy to our class here at the end. don't know that I've seen a more dynamic athlete in the country this year than Billy, and a guy that does as many things well as any high school player I've seen in a long time. And I don't I don't have the first clue where he's going to play for us, but it's going to be somewhere. And it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't end up having a role for us on both sides of the football. I mean, you talk about an elite return guy. You talk about a guy offensively that can play any of the receiver positions, backfield. I mean, just so versatile. And then I feel the same way about the defensive backfield and what he could provide there. So we were thrilled to add those guys, and I think one of the one of the big headlines I think is that group and the ability that we're bringing in.